Dear Eva, thank you so much for finding time to speak to Global Loyalty Organization and congratulations on the recent announcement by Lufthansa Group on launch of Lufthansa Group Retail Media. A very ambitious announcement. We would love to know more. I think the key goal was to try to personalize and monetize first-party passenger data. Can you guide us a little bit on the vision, strategy, and the gap that this initiative will fill in the market?
Thank you, Anastasia. Thanks for inviting. It's very privileged to be here and having this interview with you. And yeah, I'm super excited because we completely relaunched something we used to have in a company, but definitely we are going into a different direction. So it is a start of a very, very exciting journey for us. I was 15 years in advertising industry in the airline side, and I think I had this privilege to see how actually advertising changed tremendously changed. So if you see before the social media disruption, and after social media disruption, it's two completely different worlds, right? Today, if you think about advertising on ground, it's so noisy. I sometimes feel, I feel the advertising is so chaotic nowadays because it's so much things happening in the market. Sometimes I feel I'm on this journey, I want to catch up this plane. So I'm basically running through the airport trying to find my gate. And on my way, there's people sending me flyers, brochures, information, messages, and I'm just overwhelmed. My mindset is like, I don't have time for that. I don't have energy for that. I just want to go and do what I need to do, board my plane. So what I do, I collect all of those messages, information, and then I trash them in the bin before I actually go on board. Now, this is what's happening on the ground, and I have a few pure admiration for all the advertisers out there because to break through that noise with a campaign and their brand, it's a master skill. Now, what happens on the air is a completely different world. And I always feel this is exactly the gap, but also exactly our vision when it comes to, retailing media in air, because it is a little bit of this before social media world. There is this undivided attention. There's this piece. It's all less noisy. And why? And I think in airline industry, if you go to airliners, we often talk about altitude mindset switch. It's very common in airline industry. And you probably know it because once you board the plane, suddenly noise is gone. It's all peaceful. Suddenly you are actually in the mindset where you're like having a time. I mean, you're locked with us in this cabin for multiple hours. You have this attention. You are actually open to experience something new. You're curious. The famous tomato juice. Think about tomato juice. It's one of the favorite beverages on plane. Did you ever saw a person going to a bar and ordering tomato juice? I swear I never saw that. I don't even think any bar serves tomato juice. There is a reason because we don't drink it on the ground. Yes, it tastes better on the higher altitude, but at the end of the day, we are more curious, we are more open to experience, and we have this enormous attention and willingness to try something new. So putting that in a retail media perspective gives an amazing opportunity for brands, for the customers, but also for us as a company to really work with this attention, make it customer fit, make it successful for the brand, and ultimately commercially viable for us. And this is indeed the gap we want to fill, but also the strategy we're aiming for.
You touched upon on this undivided attention after the customer rushes through the stressful time of passport controls and boarding and check-ins and then sits in the seat. Currently, Lufthansa Group has already quite advanced a personalized proposition for the customers. What are the new features? What is the new value for customers that this retail media will deliver?
So indeed, we do have quite advanced possibilities to really target the ad to that customer, right? But there are still many, many possibilities when you look at the personalization sector, which we didn't touch. The reason is very simple. Sometimes we lack a technology, yeah, and we're not able to do that. So particularly, we are very, very excited about the new Wi-Fi connectivity, which we just acquired. So as of summer this year, some of our aircraft will fly with the fastest Wi-Fi connection we have currently in the market. And this is the Starlink technology we acquired. And this gives us a possibility not only to personalize further, but to load messages better, to provide formatting for the messages we couldn't have on the previous technology. And this is something which is a complete new world for us in a retail media, which we could not ever hoped for before we had such a technology on the market. So I think that is a true game changer when you look at what will change going forward.
If we touch a little bit more about personalization and first-party data, airlines are sitting on the treasure trove, right? You know, the date of birth, you know, the route, you know, the frequency of the flyer. Can I ask you to what extent, how deep you're gonna personalize the messages on the screens? Is it going to be adjusted towards each passenger individually, or it's going to be adjusted per route? What is your thinking currently?
Yeah, so indeed, I think if you think about the industry, I would say we are in a very lucky position because we have this very rich data, because we control quite a big travel journey chain. Plus, we are a legacy company in a way. Most of our airlines are, we celebrated Lufthansa 100 years. Imagine what is the data points, the level of data a 100-year-old company has. Yeah. If you compare us to any other industry, probably I would say finance has a similar amount of data richness. But indeed, we are unicorns in terms of data. And indeed, the data management, the first party recognition, identification of the customer and profiling is this key ingredient to unlock the door of this big retail media world. Now, when we talk about personalizing, obviously the ultimate idea is that you and me sit next to each other, but our screens look completely different because it's completely understandable for the company that you and me have different needs and we are served with different offers, advertising, etc. I do have always a little stomachache when we talk about personalization very, very openly, because I would say there's two extremes of personalization. If it's done right, then it's very useful. But then there is this personalization which is creepy. I don't know if I think internet has been really, really showing us this creepiness of personalization where you almost feel you're stalked, right? You're stalked by your former boyfriend you just dumped, né? And suddenly you feel they know everything about you and they're following you and it's completely irrelevant. So this is part of the personalization where we put a high boundary and we say, this is not where we are going to do. So for us, when we talk about personalization, is less is more, right? Context matters. The data management extremely matters in way how we profile, how we segment, and what then we serve, because we never want to go on this other extreme of personalization.
Obviously, the personalization is one pillar of your strategy. The second one is monetization, because the idea, of course, is to increase the profitability, increase the overall financial standing. Can I ask you, obviously, you will be looking into the coalition of partners or, other providers that fit into your brand, that fit into your customer needs. How do you approach that? Is it a particular, selection of the sectors that you will offer? Maybe hotels and hospitality, maybe cruises, maybe retail. So can you shed a light on that one?
Yeah, so basically, when you look about monetization, then you look a little bit also about customer experience in total, right? Especially because we as a group, we operate in the premium segment. So we are very cautious about the premium customer experience. And this is something when comes, monetization and customer experience, they're usually in conflict, right? So the key word for us is to find that beautiful balance between two of them, because we know in the company we will never trade off the premium experience we have been building for many, many decades, right? So if you look at the customer experience team, they will always talk about seamless, effortless, no disruption. And this is something where we say this stops, right? So in order to make then, monetization very successful, we will be looking in curation and context rather than in volume, right? That doesn't mean we will now have specific partner or partnership or industries which we will, blacklist, not at all. But we will look that basically we don't scream with your advertising on every touch point, right? So for example, if you look at our lounges, today, even if you walk in the lounges in Vienna or in Zurich or in JFK in New York, you will see there is not a lot of screens. In a traditional thinking of how to monetize, you will usually place a lot of screens to get a lot of spaces for advertising to sell more. Our idea is not to have a screaming lounge, not, transfer the lounge experience into New York Times Square. Our idea is to keep the same amount of, let's say, screens. So today, if you go in our lounge, you have maybe 10 screens per 2,000 square meters. That's nothing. If you think about the volume, think about your home. You probably live 80, 90, 100 square meters, and you probably have a laptop and a TV. That's already two. That's already much more than we provide in a bigger lounge context. So we will definitely keep the customer experience as a top priority for us. But in order to still be successful without having a volume, the context for us is amazing word. So we will give a guidance to any partner from any industry, let's say insurance company who wants to promote insurance offer. We will give them really good context where to place this offer and advertising. We know that probably insurance offer is much more relatable if you give it to a pre-flight communication towards the snowboarder who is, departing London to go to Zurich for a ski, then give that across all touch points on his return flight where maybe this offer is not relevant to him. So context for us is a business success.
And you are sitting in the very unique position because you are part of the Lufthansa loyalty team, but you are also the head of the retail media. Can you guide us on the way or synergies or coordination, how this new initiative will work with the Lufthansa's the main Miles and More team and loyalty proposition? We are seeing some of the largest global airlines, such as United and Delta, all tapping toes into this retail,
Yeah,
the new area of this retail media.
indeed.
And that's why it's so interesting for us how the loyalty is used and how the loyalty program enhances this whole initiative.
So there is indeed a reason why retail media maybe is currently sitting in some of the companies, or probably most of the companies, in the loyalty unit rather than what you say typically should maybe go in marketing, right? And there's a reason because obviously the loyalty programs have this rich data. Yeah, they are the richest in terms of the data because they actually have the data of repetitive purchase. So the data level, the depth of the data is there the most profound. Yeah, and this is where you can work on the very, very specific targeting and personalization options. That's a reason. If you look at from a loyalty program perspective, and I would say today that I think goes for all loyalty programs, rather regardless if they're airline programs or any others, is that being rewarded for purchase or repetitive purchase, it's almost a commodity today. I mean, you feel a little bit offended if you don't get a reward in your grocery store where you constantly buy, right? You're like, you don't have a bonus card, maybe I'm not going to go here. So for us for us in the loyalty, if you look at the loyalty program, it has been always a very significant portion of thinking that we have to embark or move from this very transactional way we have with the customer, right? And give additional value to the customer because we are going to lose the competitive edge in this competitiveness of the loyalty program. So if you look at the Miles and More program, I think what for the last decade, they have been very, very successfully moving from transaction into very much an engagement, deepening this bond with the customer. Today, if you look at the Miles and More app or loyalty program per se, it's much more than a flying airline loyalty program. It's almost like a daily companion. Now, how does that work with the retail media and how does that add value to a loyalty? This is, I think, where the magic actually happens. And if I can put that very concretely for you, if you would look at our frequent flyer who, for example, books the flight to Tokyo, he wakes up the day before he has to fly to Japan. He's definitely not excited about the amount of miles he will accumulate on that flight. I mean, it's given to him. You're not excited about those things anymore. Maybe 10 years ago. Now you're like, I expect that, right? But he's very much excited on the experiences he will probably enjoy in Japan. For us, that means, especially when you look into the data of that frequent flyer passenger we have in Masimo, we absolutely know with your consent what you have been doing and consuming. We know, for example, that he has been burning his miles for the fine dining experience, or purchasing the best selection of wine in our retail shop. It gives us a signal that this customer is actually interested in maybe having a very good dinner, premium dinner in Japan. So what he will experience on his flight to Japan is not only the fact that he will get miles for that, like very transactional point of view. He will probably be served on the with the ad on the screen promoting, the one Michelin star chef sushi restaurant in Japan, which he can book directly from that seat whenever he has time in Japan to experience that. And I think this is so much valuable for the customer because although he understands it's advertising, it comes across almost as a recommendation, as a tip. For us in the loyalty segment, that means we create an additional value than a typical transactional commoditized value, and our bond is increased. So repetitive possibility for repetitive purchase is much higher.
Completely agree with you on loyalty moving from the transactional experiences to the emotional experiences. Obviously, the launch of the retail media is a huge project, multi-year project. But for us on the outside of the Lufthansa Group, what next steps or what next announcements we should be looking for in the coming 12, 18 months from you?
Yeah, so indeed, we are a big company. We launching something big which involves retailing media across 9 airlines. Yeah, in a multi-layered organization is something which we take time. So what you will actually experience is a rather step-by-step approach. And I think outside of little Lufthansa Group universe, especially in this year, are maybe two big launches. So we already launched 1 month ago the amazing opportunities we offer to brands and companies to advertise on our super fast, the fastest internet connectivity on board, which will start in summer this year. So this has been already communicated, and I'm very, very grateful to see a huge demand. So I'm really also excited that also other non-airline industries understood the possibilities and opportunities of that technology for us. Moving forward, autumn this year, and this is, I think, something which at least brings a lot of joy, but also a lot of workload in my team. We will be launching completely different media opportunities than we ever had in 3 new lounges we are opening towards end of the year, beginning of the next year. And those are the lounges in New York, Washington, and our hub Zurich. And I think this is something which will be communicated obviously publicly and will give different possibilities for brands to engage with the customers in our premium lines or our premium customers. And the last end of the year, obviously moving into 2027, we will be launching a media kit, something which we always do in the retail media, but this time with a little spin. And I will not give you that information because it's our secret ingredient on how it will look and what will entail. So I would say stay a little bit curious because end of the year we will be launching completely new, different media opportunities in general for 2027.
Yeah, look forward. We will stay tuned and
Yeah.
definitely would love to have you back by the end of the year and shed the light upon the first results and the first experiences from your
Yes.
launches and digital media. Yeah, and look forward and the best of luck on such a interesting project.
Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you.